What is happening right now in Moldova is not just another regional energy problem. It is a warning signal echoing across Europe. Almost overnight, Moldova found itself facing a sudden gas cutoff, a move that shocked citizens, rattled markets, and sent political shockwaves far beyond its borders. For many Europeans, this moment feels uncomfortably familiar, yet different enough to raise new fears about what comes next. For years, Moldova has lived on the edge of Europe's energy map. Small, economically fragile, and heavily dependent on imported gas, the country has always been vulnerable to supply disruptions. But this time, the situation feels more severe, more sudden, and far more political. Households began worrying immediately. Industries slowed. Government officials rushed into emergency meetings. And across Europe, policymakers started asking the same question: if it can happen to Moldova, who is next? Gas is not just fuel in Moldova. It is heat in winter, electricity for cities, and stability for an already strained economy. When supplies are interrupted, the impact is instant and personal. Families worry about staying warm. Businesses worry about survival. Hospitals and public services begin calculating how long they can operate under emergency conditions. This is why the cutoff struck such a deep nerve inside the country. But the real reason this crisis matters is not only Moldova itself. It is the timing. Europe is already under pressure from rising energy costs, fragile supply chains, and unresolved geopolitical tensions. Another disruption, even in a small country, adds stress to a system that many fear is already close to breaking. Behind the scenes, this crisis is about more than pipelines and contracts. It is about leverage. Energy has become one of the most powerful political tools of the modern era. Whoever controls supply holds influence, and whoever loses access pays the price. Moldova's gas cutoff is a textbook example of how energy can be used to send a message without firing a single shot. For Europe, the message is alarming. Over the past few years, European leaders have promised energy independence, diversification, and security. New suppliers were announced, alternative routes explored, and ambitious plans presented to the public. Yet moments like this expose how fragile those promises still are. One disruption in one country can still send ripples across an entire continent. In Moldova, the government has tried to project calm, but the pressure is enormous. Emergency reserves are limited. Alternative supplies are expensive and difficult to secure on short notice. Every day without stable gas increases the economic cost and political risk. Public frustration grows quickly when people fear cold homes and rising bills. This is where the crisis begins to overlap with politics inside Moldova itself. Energy shortages have a history of destabilizing governments. Opposition parties seize the moment to criticize leadership. Protests become more likely. Trust erodes. What starts as an energy issue can quickly transform into a political crisis. Europe is watching closely because Moldova is not just any country. It sits at a strategic crossroads between East and West. Its energy system is deeply connected to broader regional networks. Any instability there has the potential to spill outward, especially in a region already sensitive to pressure. Across European capitals, analysts are revisiting uncomfortable questions. Are current gas reserves sufficient? How reliable are alternative suppliers in extreme conditions? What happens if multiple disruptions occur at once? These are not theoretical concerns anymore. Moldova has turned them into reality. Winter only amplifies the fear. Energy crises feel abstract in summer, but brutal in cold months. Heating becomes a matter of survival. Governments know this, which is why timing matters so much. A cutoff now is far more dangerous than one in warmer seasons. Markets reacted quickly. Energy prices, already volatile, showed signs of nervous movement. Traders understand that energy confidence is fragile. Once fear enters the system, it spreads fast. Even countries with secure supplies start paying more, simply because risk has increased. The human side of the crisis is often overlooked in geopolitical discussions, but it is impossible to ignore in Moldova. Elderly citizens worry about heating. Parents worry about children. Small business owners worry about shutting doors permanently. These personal fears add emotional weight to what might otherwise be seen as a technical dispute. Europe's broader concern is precedent. If gas can be cut off here with limited immediate consequences, it may happen again elsewhere. Energy pressure does not need to be permanent to be effective. Even short disruptions can force political concessions, emergency spending, and strategic compromises. This is why European unity is being tested once again. Some countries argue for stronger collective responses. Others prioritize national interests and domestic stability. Energy solidarity sounds good in speeches, but crises reveal how difficult it is in practice. Moldova's situation also exposes the limits of rapid transition. While renewable energy remains the long-term goal, the reality is that gas still plays a critical role today. Infrastructure cannot be transformed overnight. Promises of green futures do little to heat homes in the present. As days pass, the question becomes how long Moldova can endure. Emergency measures buy time, not solutions. Every temporary fix adds cost and uncertainty. International assistance helps, but it cannot fully replace stable supply networks. Behind closed doors, negotiations continue. Energy crises are rarely solved in public. Pressure is applied quietly. Messages are exchanged. Calculations are made. Each side weighs how much it can gain or lose by escalating or de-escalating the situation. For Europe, this crisis is a reminder that energy security is not just about contracts, but about resilience. True security means being able to absorb shocks without panic. Moldova's struggle shows how far the continent still has to go. Public opinion across Europe is also shifting. Citizens are growing tired of recurring energy scares. Each crisis chips away at confidence in leadership. People want stability, predictability, and protection from forces they cannot control. As media coverage intensifies, narratives begin to compete. Some frame the crisis as inevitable. Others blame policy failures. Others see it as deliberate pressure. The truth likely contains elements of all three. What is clear is that Moldova has become the latest frontline in a wider energy confrontation. It did not choose this role, but it must now navigate it carefully. Every decision carries consequences. If the crisis drags on, long-term damage becomes unavoidable. Economic slowdown, social unrest, and political instability could follow. Recovery would take years, not months. For Europe, the lesson is uncomfortable but necessary. Energy dependence remains a vulnerability. Promises of insulation from global shocks are premature. Until supply systems are truly diversified and resilient, similar crises will keep returning. Moldova's gas cutoff is not just a shock. It is a signal, a reminder that in today's world, energy is power, and power is rarely neutral. As Europe watches and waits, one thing is certain: this crisis will not be forgotten, and its consequences will shape decisions far beyond Moldova's borders. And as the continent stands on edge, the question remains unanswered. Is this the peak of the crisis, or only the beginning of a much larger energy storm?